السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته يا شيخنا.
وعبد الرحمن كيفك؟
الحمد لله يا شيخنا بالخير.
نبدأ الدرس.
نعم يا شيخ.
نبدأ.
نعم يا شيخنا.
إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا وسيئات أعمالنا. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. أما بعد, we in continuation of our reading of our mother Āishah radiallahu anha. Since we commenced this reading from Siyar A'alām An-Nubala, it has been about Āishah radiallahu anha, Abdullah Siddiqatu bintu Siddiq and Habibatu Rasulillah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam wa radiyallahu anha. We came to page 186 where we started reading in the last class about the gifts that were sent to Āishah and about how much open-handed she was radiyallahu anha. When the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam passed away, a lot of monies came to Āishah. In page 187 of our book Seerah A that we have taken from Siyar A'alām An-Nubala by Al-Hafidh Al-Dhahabi, in page 27 from the report of Yahya ibn Abi Za'idah and Hajjaj and Ata أن معاوية بعث إلى عائشة بقلادة 100,000 فقسمتها بين أمهات المؤمنين. عطاء ibn Abi Rabah, a well-known tabi'i from the people of Mecca, he said, rahimahullah, أن معاوية, that Muawiyah ibn Abi Sufyan, بعث إلى عائشة بقلادة, he sent a necklace to Aisha, ب100,000. The necklace was worth 100,000 dirhams. The necklace was worth 100,000 dirhams. فقسمتها بين أمهات المؤمنين. Our mother Āishah radiallahu anha qasamatha, she distributed this money bayna ummahatil mu'minin, amongst the rest of the wives of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. In another report that followed it, Urwa ibn Zubayr rahimahullah said that Āishah anha tasaddaqat bi 70,000. Āishah radiallahu anha made sadaqah with 70,000 dirhams. 70,000 dirhams today is in the status of 210 million naira. 200 million naira and 10 million. وَإِنَّهَا لَتَرْفَعُ جَانِبَ دِرْعِهَا وَإِنَّهَا لَتَرْفَعُ جَانِبَ دِرْعِهَا رضي الله عنها. Even when she made that sadaqah, إِنَّهَا لَتَرْفَعُ جَانِبَ دِرْعِهَا, she had sides, she had corners of her clothes that she patched, despite the fact that she was wearing a clothes that she needed to patch. رضي الله عنها. وإنها لا ترقع جانب درعها. Her gowns were patched by the sides, and despite that, فَصَدَّقَتْ بِسَبْعِينَ أَلْفًا. She would still make sadaqah with 70,000 dirhams. Radiyallahu anha. These were the issues we read about her until we came down on the fifth page, page 187. We came down on the fifth page, page 187. We came to the report from Mutarrif, the report of Mutarrif. That's from where we start the class today, inshallah. Mutarrif ibn Tarif an Abi Ishaq عن مصعب بن سعيد قال فرض عمر لأمهات المؤمنين 10,000 وزاد عائشة 2,000 وقال إنها حبيبة رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. مطرف ابن طريف. This Mutarrif ibn Tarif, he is Abu Bakr al-Kufi. He was reporting from Abu Ishaq as-Sabi'i, Amr ibn Abdullah, who was reporting from Mus'ab ibn Sa'id. Mus'ab ibn Sa'id is the son of Ibn Sa'd, is the son of Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas. So he was Mus'ab ibn Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas, who said, فرض عمر لأمهات المؤمنين 10,000 فرض عمر لأمهات المؤمنين 10,000 Umar radiallahu anhu set aside and gave Ummahat al-Mu'mineen, the wives of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, the mothers of the people of Iman. Umar radiallahu anhu set aside as a gift for them 10,000, 10,000 dirhams, silver coins, 10,000, 10,000 silver coins. 10,000 silver coins would amount to 12 million, 30 million naira today. For us here in Nigeria, what Umar did was فرض عمر لأمهات المؤمنين 10,000. Umar radiallahu anhu set aside and gave 10,000 to who? Ummahat al-Mu'minin, the wives of the Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam, the mothers of the people of Iman. وَزَادَ عَائِشَةَ 2,000. As for Aisha, Umar increased it by 2,000. Umar gave others 10,000. As for Aisha, Zada al-Fayt, Umar increased that of Aisha by 2,000. وقال, and then he said, إِنَّهَا حَبِيبَةُ رَسُولِ اللَّهِ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَسَلَّمَ. The reason I have given 12,000 to Aisha is that Aisha is the most beloved wife of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. So it meant that when the Prophet passed away alayhi salatu wasalam, the wives of the Prophet regularly received donations, they regularly received money from the state by way of care for them. They gave them sufficient money. And most of the times the women spent the entirety of the money for what? For sadaqat. Radiyallahu anhunna. The next report that came after that came from Shu'bah, who said, أخبرنا Abdur-Rahman ibn al-Qasim. Abdur-Rahman ibn al-Qasim. Al-Qasim was the grandchild of Abu Bakr as-Siddiq. He is Al-Qasim ibn Muhammad ibn Abi Bakr as-Siddiq. This Qasim, who was the grandchild of Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, he had a son called Abdur-Rahman. It is this Abdur-Rahman who now reports from Al-Qasim. Qasim was a student of Āishah. Qasim, the grandchild of Abu Bakr from Muhammad. His name is Al-Qasim ibn Muhammad ibn Abi Bakr. He was also a student of who? Āishah. It was Qasim who now said, Anna Āishah radiyallahu anha كانت تصوم الدهر. He said, rahimahullah, that our mother Āishah radiyallahu anha كانت تصوم الدهر. She would fast for an entire year. She would fast for the whole of the year. Āishah. The first thing I like us to notice about this asar is that all of these that we have talked about regarding Āishah were things that happened after the Prophet had died. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So when Al-Qasim was saying that Āishah radiallahu anha كانت تصوم الدهر, she would fast for an entire year. That is not, and it was not when the Prophet was alive. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Point one. Point two, she was not fasting on the days that she knew that the Prophet had prohibited us fasting. This is how to understand narrations like this. She was not fasting on those days that the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam had prohibited us to fast. Like what? Like Ayyamul Eid. On the days of Eid al-Fitr and Eid al-Adha, we have been prohibited from fasting. She would not also fast when she was menstruating. Radiyallahu anha. The first point I wanted us to note about this asar, Anna Āishah radiyallahu anha كانت تصوم الدهر, that she would fast for an entire year. I want us to know how to understand statements from scholars. It does not now mean that Āishah was fasting even when she was menstruating. That's not what they are talking about. Remove the days of her menstruation. Radiyallahu anha. Remove the days of Eid, Eid al-Fitr and Eid al-Kabir. She lived for 50 years after the Prophet died. Alayhi salatu wasalam. So it's a long time. So for 50 years, radiyallahu anha, she would not be fasting when, of course, she was menstruating, because it is prohibited for a menstruating woman to observe a fast, whether that fast was compulsory or the fast was from nawafil. It is not lawful for a woman who was fasting, who was menstruating, to fast. So the first thing you will remove is that this does not include the days that she was fasting. The second thing you will remove is that it does not include the days of Eid, radiyallahu anha. The third thing you will remove is that she was not fasting on the days of Jum'ah alone. If she fasted on a Jum'ah, she would fast on a Thursday, because we have been prohibited to fast. We have been prohibited to fast on a Friday alone, to single out Friday as a day of fasting. So we should understand narrations like this properly and place them properly. This statement does not mean that she was fasting when she was menstruating. It does not also mean that she was fasting on the days of Eid or Ayyam al-Tashriq. Ayyam al-Tashriq are the 3 days after the day of Eid al-Adha, 11th, 12th, and 13th of the Hijjah. It doesn't mean that she was fasting on those days. What narrations like this mean is that such a person fasted most of the times during the year. But for those days when it was prohibited for us to fast, definitely we will not be violating the prohibitions from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam to now fast a fast that is just a nawafi. He will not do that. Radiyallahu anha. I hope that that narration is properly understood and appropriately placed. And more so, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he has prohibited us to fast throughout the year. He said, "Man sama ad-dahra duyiqat alayhi jahannam. Man sama ad-dahra duyiqat alayhi jahannam hakada wa qabada kaffahu." The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he made a feast. He folded his palm like making a feast. He now said, alayhi salatu wasalam, "Man sama ad-dahra," whoever fasts for the whole of the year. On the days of Eid, he's fasting. She's menstruating, she's fasting. Every day like that. The Prophet said, alayhi salatu wassalam, Uyyiqat alayhi jahannam. The fire of Jahannam will be made to constrict on him. So it means it's a very serious sin to fast in the entirety of the year. Every day you are fasting. The day of Eid, you are fasting. The day of Eid al-Adha, you are fasting. Ayyam al-Tashriq, you are fasting. Every day you are fasting. Menstruating, you are fasting. This is a sin. It is prohibited. Don't fast every day of the year. Don't fast every day of the year. If you avoid those days that the Prophet has warned us not to fast, like the days of Eid, like fasting on the Jum'ah alone, like a woman's fasting when her husband was available and without her obtaining a permission from him, that's unlawful too. It's not lawful for a woman to fast when her husband was available without his permission. It's not lawful for a woman to do that. So if a person fasts a whole year ignoring all of these, such a person will be committing a sin. And we understand that it's a major sin. Why? The Prophet mentioned, alayhi salatu wasalam, with regards to it, punishment with Jahannam. He said, alayhi salatu wasalam, man sama ad-dahra, this hadith occurs in Musnad of Imām Ahmad, man sama ad-dahra, duyyiqat alayhi Jahannam. Whoever fasts the entirety of a year, the fire will be made to constrict against him. May Allah protect us. So the way to understand that she fasted the whole year was that she fasted except those days that we have been prohibited from fasting. I hope we properly placed that narration regarding Āishah. In the page that followed, page 188, Al-Imām Adh-Dhahabi mentioned, he said, Ibn Jurayj an Ata قال كنت آتي عائشة أنا وأبيد ابن عمير وهي مجاورة في جوف كبير في قبة لها تركية عليها غشاؤها وقد رأيت عليها وأنا صبي درعا معصفرا وقد رأيت عليها وأنا صبي درعا معصفرا. Ibn Jurayj was the one reporting from Ata'u ibn Abi Rabah, who said, Kuntu ati Āishata radiyallahu anha ana wa Ubayd ibn Umayr. Ata'u ibn Abi Rabah was an imam. He said he used to visit Āishah, ana wa Ubayd ibn Umayr. Myself and Ubayd ibn Umayr, we would visit Āishah. وهي مجاورة في جوف سبير في قبة لها. When we came to visit her, هي مجاورة في جوف سبير. She was just staying at a place at the middle of a tent. قبة لها. She was at a particular location in the middle of a tent that she had made for herself. This tent that she made for herself, Turkiyatin, this kubba, it is what? Kubbatin Turkiya. It was a Turkish-made tent that she was sitting under it. Alayha gisha'uha. And the covering of the tent were raised up over the tent. وَقَدْ رَأَيْتُ عَلَيْهَا. Ata'u ibn Abi Rabah was describing how and where they came to meet Āishah. He said, وَقَدْ رَأَيْتُ عَلَيْهَا. And I saw Āishah radiyallahu anha وَأَنَا صَبِيٌّ, when I was a little young boy. رَأَيْتُ عَلَيْهَا دِرْعًا مُعَصْفَرًا. I saw a dir. I saw the big gowns women wear. Those big gowns women wear. She was wearing it. Muasfara. And it was a gown that had the color of muasfar. This color muasfar that the scholars refer to, it is within the range of red to orange red. From red, because it is from a it is from a particular leaf. That leaf, when they prepare it, they can color a particular cloth with that leaf. And most of the time, when they color with the muasfar, for a muasfar color, they gain either absolute red, pure red, or orange red. Either absolute red or orange red. If the coloration is light, it becomes orange red. Otherwise, when it is thick, it comes with what? Proper red color. After we said when I was young and I visited Āishah, I saw her wearing a gown, huge big gowns of women there. Usually a cloth that covers the body of a woman, but leaving her face and her arm and her palms can also be referred to as what? There. A cloth that covers the body of a woman, leaving her face and her palm, can also be referred to as there. The narration again is from Ibn Jurayj. He was reporting from Atā ibn Abi Rabah, who said that Kuntu ati Āishata, I would visit Āishah together with Ubayd ibn Umayr. وَهِيَ مُجَاوِرَةٌ فِي جَوْفِ سَبِيرٍ. She was staying at the middle, at a place, فِي قُبَّةٍ لَهَا, under a particular tent that she had erected. And that tent, Turkiya, was a Turkish tent that she was making, and she stayed under that tent. I came to visit her there. عَلَيْهَا ishah. The covering of the tent had been raised up on top of the tent. وَقَدْ رَأَيْتُ عَلَيْهَا وَأَنَا صَبِيٌّ دِرْعًا مُؤَصْفَرًا. And at a younger time, when I was far younger than this, when I visited her, I saw her wearing a cloth that was in the color, in the reddish, orange-red, big gown with the orange-red color. In the same page, Imām Adh-Dhahabi said, وروى سليمان ibn بلال عن عمرو ibn أبي عمرو سمع القاسم يقول كانت عائشة رضي الله عنها تلبس الأحمرين الذهب والمعصفرة وهي محرمة. Suleiman ibn Bilal was from the teachers of Al-Imam al-Bukhari. He said, and Amr ibn Abi Amr. He reports from his Shaykh Amr ibn Abi Amr, who said that he heard Al-Qasim. You see, Qasim was being repeated. That Qasim, Al-Qasim, was the son of Muhammad ibn Abi Bakr al-Siddiq. So Āishah is in the status of a grandmother to Qasim. Fortunately, Qasim lived with her and learned from Āishah. So, like Urwa ibn Zubayr, Qasim had a lot of reports from who? From Āishah. Radiyallahu anha. Qasim said, كانت عائشة تلبس الأحمرين. Āishah radiyallahu anha used to dress in the two red things. I had told us that الثوب المعصفر, that a cloth that is called muasfar, is largely red, and when the coloration is light, it will come to orange red, proper red to what? To orange red. He said that كانت عائشة تلبس الأحمرين. Aisha radiyallahu anha would wear two red things. الذهب, gold. She will dress in gold, radiyallahu anha. It means it is lawful for a Muslim woman to dress in gold. Wal-muasfa, and a cloth that has been painted with that color, red towards orange red. Al-Qasim said, Aisha radiyallahu anha will do that. وَهِيَ مُحْرِمَةٌ. She was in ihram. What she dressed in ihram was what I had mentioned. Ihram did not prevent her from wearing golden ornament. She wore a chain, maybe the ear ring, maybe the nose ring, maybe any other, the necklace, maybe the leg rings, and all of these that women wear. She will wear them and it is gold. radiallahu anha. Al-Qasim said Aisha used to do that. And when Qasim said that, the second thing he said is that wal mu'asfar, she would also dress in a cloth that is reddish in color, orange red to pure red in color. There is a reason why Al-Qasim was making this statement, and that was because some of the people were saying that inna nasan yaz'umuna anna Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam naha anil ahmarain al-mu'asfari wal-zahabi. Some of the people were thinking that the Prophet had prohibited that a woman should wear golden ornament. So when they came to ask Al-Qasim about it, who they knew was very, very close to Aisha, tell us about it. Did the Prophet prohibit women from wearing golden ornaments? No, the Prophet did not prohibit women from wearing golden ornaments. Did the Prophet prohibit women from wearing a cloth that is reddish in color up to orange red as it is prohibited for men? Because these two things are prohibited for men. Did he prohibit it for women? That was why Al-Qasim made that statement that kanat Āishah talbasul ahmarain. Aisha radiyallahu anha would wear the two red things, al-dhahaba wal-mu'asfara. She would wear golden ornaments, wal-mu'asfar. And sometimes she dressed in a big gown, big clothes that had that color. Wahiya muhrima. And on those occasions, it would be that she was in ihram. Radiyallahu anha. I hope that this matter is clarified. Likewise, it says, وَقَالَ ibn Abi Mulaika. And Imam Abdullah ibn Ubaydillah ibn Abi Mulaika, he said, rahimahullah, رَأَيْتُ عَلَيْهَا دِرْعًا مُضَرِّجًا. رَأَيْتُ عَلَيْهَا دِرْعًا. I saw Ibn Abi Mulaika was from amongst the Tabi'un. He was an elder amongst the Tabi'i. And he also took knowledge from Aisha. Ibn Abi Mulaika was a student of Aisha. Rahimahullah. Wa radiyallahu anha. So he could tell us what she dressed in sometimes. He said, I saw her alayha dir'an mudarrija. She was wearing a cloth that was red stained. A red stained cloth. A cloth stained in red. Something near a Kampala in red. Huge, big clothes. That's what is referred to as dira. When the cloth is big on her, almost like the jilbab that you talk about. That was what she was wearing. But it was reddish. Radiyallahu anha. It was reddish, red stained. That was the color because they would usually dye their clothes with the henna or with, they would dye it with to have a color they refer to as what? Al-Muasfar. And that is allowed for women. The color range of the Muasfar is between proper red and what? And orange red. Proper red and orange red. This is prohibited for the males of the people of Islam. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam prohibited that. The hadith of Abdullah ibn Amr ibn al-As in Sahih Muslim. He saw him dressed in a red, proper red to an orange red. He was asking him, was it your mother who made that dress for you? The ulama said the reason the Prophet was asking him whether it was his mother who had made that dress was that because that is permissible for women. So the woman might have thought that it's also permissible for men. So she would make Amr ibn al-As that kind of a material, a cloth from her own material. So was it your mother who made that dress for you? Abdullah ibn Amr ibn al-As asked the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, should I go and remove it? The Prophet said, no, go and burn it. So men don't wear those kinds of colors from proper red to orange red. Don't wear it. The men have been prohibited from doing so, Allahu Alam, and it is allowed in terms of the women. In the next narration that follows, it says, وَقَالَ مُعَلِّي ibn Asad حدثنا المعلي ibn زياد. Imām Adh-Dhahabi said, وقال معلي ابن أسد حدثنا المعلي ابن زياد قال حدثتنا بكرة ابن عقبة أنها دخلت على عائشة رضي الله عنها وهي جالسة في معسفرة فسألتها عن الحناء فقالت شجرة طيبة وماء طهور. وسألتها عن الحفاف فقالت لها وسألتها عن الحفاف فقالت لها إن كان لك زوج فاستطعت أن تنزعي مقلتيك فتصنعينهما أحسن مما هما فافعلي. In this report from Imām Adh-Dhahabi, he was citing from Mu'alli ibn Asad. Mu'alli ibn Asad, he is Abul Haytham al-Basri. He was a reporter who was well known, and he's a reliable reporter of hadith. He said, حدثنا al-Mu'alli ibn Ziyad. He was reporting from Mu'alli ibn Ziyad, Abul Hasan al-Basri. He's also a reporter well known for trustworthy reports. He said, حدثتنا بكرة بنت عقبة. As for Bukra ibn Uqba, she is majhula. As for Bukra ibn Uqba, she is majhula. And so this narration is a weak narration. This narration we are reading now is a weak narration. Why? Bukra bint Uqba, who was said to have reported it from Āishah, was not known to be a trustworthy reporter of narrations. She said, عنها دخلت على عائشة وهي جالسة في معسفرة. She said she came into the apartment of Āishah وهي جالسة, and Āishah radiallahu anha was sitting in a dress that is what? Muasfar. Muasfar is, like we had said repeatedly, a proper absolute red in the range of orange red. فَسَأَلَتْهَا عَنِ الْحِنَّةِ. She asked Āishah about al-hinna. Hinna is the same henna. Hinna is what? Hinna. That leaf that is used for coloration. Women use it to color their hands. And when they do that, they find some range of red. Men too, it's allowed. We use it to make hijab. We use it to change the color of our gray hairs on our beard. It is allowed. Henna. It will bring a color of red up to orange red. Even the henna will give you that color. She asked Āishah about it. فقالت, our mother Āishah answered that شجرة طيبة وماء طهور. The tree, the leaf of henna is a blessed tree. وماء طهور. And the water that comes from that leaf with which we dye our clothes, it's also pure. The leaf is what? Blessed, tayyiba, nice. وَمَاءٌ طَهُورٌ. And the water from it is what? Is pure, it's not najis. That is what she means. It means that the fluid from that leaf of henna, it is not what? It is not a najis. That such that when it is upon a cloth, we have to wash it off. No. That was what this report says from Āishah. So it is lawful to use henna to dye the clothes in the shades of red for women to wear. وَسَأَلَتْهَا عَنِ الْحِفَافِ. And then the woman asked Āishah about hifaf. Hifaf is from the aspects of beautifying the eyes. From the way of beautifying the eyes is what they refer to as hifaf. فَقَالَتْ لَهَا. Āishah radiallahu anha was reported to have said to her that in kana laki zawjun, if you have a husband, fastata'ti an tanzi'i muqlatayk, and you are able to remove your two eyeballs. Muqlatun are our eyeballs, so they refer to them as muqlatul ayn, or what? Shahmatul ayn. Muqlatayk. If you have a husband and you are able to remove your two eyeballs, فَتَصْنَعِينَهُمَا أَحْسَنَ مِمَّا هُمَا, and then you can design your eyeballs to be more beautiful. تَصْنَعِينَهُمَا, you make them أَحْسَنَ مِمَّا هُمَا, more beautiful than they are, perfectly do that. Meaning that you can go to a lot of expense to beautify yourself as long as you have your husband with you. This point, don't forget, the first thing about this report is that it's a weak report. But two things that it affirms that the woman, for which the woman came to Āishah, she came to ask her about what? Hina. And she said that Hina is tayyiba, and its water is what? Tahur. It's not najis. The second thing she asked about was hifaf. Hifaf. Some people say that hifaf is the way to remove some hairs on the face and beautify the face. When you remove the hairs that are all over the face, perhaps for those who are very hairy, then you beautify the face. Allahu Alam. فَقَالَتْ لَهَا. It was said that Āishah said to the woman, إِنْ كَانَ لَكِ زَوْجٍ إِنْ كَانَ لَكِ زَوْجٌ. If you have a husband, فَاسْتَطَعْتِ أَنْ تَنْزِعِي مُقْلَتَيْكِ, and you are able أَنْ تَنْزِعِي مُقْلَتَيْكِ, to remove your eyeballs, فَتَصْنَعِينَهُمَا أَحْسَنَ مِمَّا هُمَا, and you make those two eyeballs أَحْسَنَ مِمَّا هُمَا, more beautiful than they actually are. Perfectly, you should do that. But don't forget, this report is a weak report. In the next page that followed, Imām Adh-Dhahabi said, Al-Mu'alliyani Sikatan. The two Mu'allis in this isnad, they are reliable people. Who and who? Mu'alli ibn Asad and who? Mu'alli ibn Ziyad. Mu'alli ibn Asad al-Basri. Al-Basri. By that, he's pointing to us that Bukratu ibn to Uqba was not a reliable person. That's why he told us, out of three, he told us two are reliable. So what is it that happened to the third person? It's not reliable. The scholars behave like that. We can quickly come to Hadith, page 189. Al-Imam Adh-Dhahabi said, وَأَنْ مُعَاذَةَ الْعَدَوِيَّةِ قالت معاذ العدوية. That is Mu'adhatu bintu Abdullah. Mu'adhatu bintu Abdullah said, رضي الله عنها قالت رأيت على عائشة ملحفة صفراء. رأيت على عائشة ملحفة صفراء. I saw on Aisha milhafa. Milhafa is jilbab. Milhafa is jilbab. Linguistically, the meaning of milhafa is what? Jilbab. The meaning of jilbab is what? Milhafa. The milhafa is a big cloth, like a bed sheet, with which you cover up yourself. So this woman said she saw Aisha covering herself up with milhafatan safra, with a cloth, with a big, huge cloth, that is what safra, yellowish in its color. The color was yellow in its color, safra. And then Al-Waqidi. Al-Waqidi, in this report it says, Al-Waqidi Haddathana Ibn Abi Zinad. Al-Waqidi, the weak reporter of hadith. Some scholars even say is Kazab. Yurakibul Asanid. He fabricates reports. So this narration we are reading now is also weak. That Haddathana Ibn Abi Zinad, that Abdurrahman ibn Abi Zinad said, and Hisham ibn Urwa, and Abihi Urwa ibn Zubayr, who said, ربما روت عائشة القصيدة 60 بيتا وأكثر. ربما روت عائشة القصيدة 60 بيتا وأكثر. Perhaps Aisha radiallahu anha will sing some poems, and in a very short time she will make a poem that is of 60 baitan, that is of 60 stanzas or more. He can be telling you, talking about his singing, making poems. But don't forget, this narration is weak because of Al-Waqidi. He is Muhammad ibn Umar ibn Waqid Al-Waqidi. If you find him in an isnad, just understand that the isnad is weak May Allah protect us. The reports that followed say Ibn Qidam, Mis'ar ibn Qidam. Imam Muslim reported a lot from him in Sahih Muslim. He said, An Hamad. He reports from Hamad ibn Zayd. And Ibrāhīm al-Nakhi. Reporting from Ibrāhīm ibn Yazid al-Nakhi, who said, قالت عائشة, that Aisha said, رضي الله عنها, يا ليتني كنت ورقة من هذه الشجرة. How I wish, just like Maryam was reported to have said in the Quran, كنت نسيا منسيا. How I wish I do not come into this condition that I would have been something that would have been absolutely forgotten since a long time. In this case, it says that Aisha radiallahu anha said, ليتني كنت ورقة من هذه الشجرة. I wish I was a leaf from the leaves of this tree. This report also is weak. Why? Because Ibrāhīm ibn Yazid al-Nakhi did not report a hadith from Aisha. So it is called munqati. It has a broken chain. It is weak. This report from Ibrāhīm ibn Yazid al-Nakhi, it is weak regarding Aisha radiyallahu anha. I'd like to stop there because we have mentioned a lot of things. I am sure we have questions gathered regarding it at question time about the Rahman. The report will come to after that would be a very interesting report about how the Prophet passed away, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And by that we'll be coming very close to ending these narrations that report the various kinds of the stages of life of our mother, radiyallahu anha, Aisha, bintu Abi Bakr as-Siddiq, Habibatu Rasulillah, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. We would have covered a lot of information about Aisha, radiyallahu anha, regarding the things she faced in life and her various capabilities. What we have read today is a description of the clothes that people saw her in, apart from the regular clothes that she wore. I think it is necessary that I emphasize that the colors of the clothes that they saw Aisha in, they were apart from the clothes that she wore regularly outside. Otherwise, what the women of the Prophet ﷺ would wear mainly outside the home was the jilbab covering their faces in colors that are black. What they wore regularly was black. Radiyallahu anhunna. Al-Imam Abu Dawud reported from Salama radiyallahu anha, and many of the scholars have ruled this narration authentic, that an Salama radiyallahu anha qalat, Salama radiyallahu anha, she said, لما نزلت يدنين عليهن من جلابيبهن, when Allah sent down that verse that women yudnina alayhinna min jalabibihinna, they should cover up themselves with their jilbabs. Kharaja nisa'ul ansar, the women of the people of the Ansar came out. Ka'anna ala ru'usihinna al-girban, their heads were like the head of girban. What is girban? Please go and look for this bed. Girban. The bed is a bed that is completely black. Min al-aksiyah, because of the clothes that they wore. When Allah said, Yudnina alayhinna min jalabibihinna kharaja nisa'ul ansar, ka'anna ala ru'usihinna al-girban, min al-aksiyah. The women came out, it was as if they had that bed called what? Girban on their heads. Min al-aksiyah, because of the clothes that they were wearing. They were all wearing black. When Allah said, Yudnina alayhinna min jalabibihinna, women went wearing black, covering all of their heads. And if you look at that bed, girban, you will hardly find a single white color on her. The only thing you see about girban is the eye. Just that eye. And if you don't look properly, you will not see that eye. If you don't look properly at the face of the girban, you will not see the eye. So the regular thing women wore in the time of the Messenger ﷺ was they went on in their black clothes. But sometimes they wore these other clothes too. That is the major takeaway from these reports from Āishah that showed that radiyallahu anha, she had other colors that she wore. But what she did most regularly, and Allah knows best, was that she was in those clothes that they wore when those verses came, when Allah said, Yudnina alayhinna min jalabibihinna faraja nisa'ul ansar ka'anna ala ru'usihinna al-girban min al-aqtiyah. The women came out of, when they were walking, they had to go wherever they wanted to go. Ka'anna ala ru'usihinna al-girban. Their head looked as if they had girban on their heads. How? Their movement was sedate, calm, and they likely wore clothes that were what? Black in color. Because that was how that bed looked whenever you look at it. Allahu Alam. I think we can come to the questions to address them one after the other, inshallah, about Abdurrahman.
Salawatullah alaykum ya Shaykhana.
Ameen, ameen wa iyyakum.
The first question here reads, Assalamu alaikum Shaykh. Can I wear my jilbab in the form of a long hijab and skirt, gown of the same material? Is it halal, sir?
Women, you can see that we saw that they were referring to the jilbab as a milhafa. The milhafa is a bed sheet. The bed sheet does not become cut into two. The bed sheet is a single stretch of cloths. So the basic rule about jilbab is that it is a single stretch of cloths. Let us note this. The meaning of a jilbab, Al-Imam Ibn Hazm, many others amongst the scholars, they say to us, the jilbab is a single stretch of cloths. The jilbab is one single cloth stretching, covering the entirety of the body of the woman. This is the meaning of a jilbab. If you ask me what does jilbab mean, and Allah had said, إِذَا خَرَجْنَا مِن بُيُوتِهِنَّ لِحَاجَاتِهِنَّ, that when the women go out of their homes for their needs, they should wear their jilbab. يُدْنِينَ عَلَيْهِنَّ مِن جَلَابِيبِهِنَّ. Now this jilbab, what it means linguistically and shar'an is one single stretch of cloth from your head to your toe. This is the meaning of jilbab. Jilbab is one single stretch of cloth from your head to your toe that is covering everywhere amongst your body. This is the meaning of jilbab. This is the meaning of jilbab. That was why Āishah radiyallahu anha, she also said it during Qissatul Ifk, that when she saw Mistah, she said, فَخَمَّرْتُ وَجْهِي بِجِلْبَابِي. I dragged my single piece of cloth over my head to cover my face. So that's the meaning of jilbab. Jilbab is a single piece of cloth covering a woman from the top of her head to her toe. So now when you ask me, can I cut it into two? I'll be asking you, do you not want it to be jilbab? If it is jilbab, it's a single. Why do you want to cut it into two? If it is jilbab, it is one single cloth from up to down. So why do you want to cut it? Are you not going to do it because you want to obey that instruction from the Quran that yudnina alayhinna min jalabibihinna? So if it is that you want, you don't need to cut it into two. Then you start asking what if I cut it into two? Can that be permissible? Don't cut it because it is jilbab. Leave it as a single stretch of cloth from your head to your toe, covering up of you. I hope that is clear, inshallah.
Jazakumullah khair ya Shaykh.
There's a question. Is it permissible for a woman to use the kuhl on her eyes when going out, when her niqab exposes her eyes. If the niqab is exposing the eyes and you have kuhul on the eyes that it could be seen by anybody who looks at the eyes, then it is not permissible for you to use the kuhul. Because the kuhul is zina. The kuhul is what? Zina. And there's a command to cover the zina. The command is that cover your zina, cover your adornment. Cover your adornment. That's in Surah An-Nur. So if you have a command to cover your adornments and the kuhul is part of it, when you use the kuhul, don't go out. Unless if you go out, you must place the niqab that has a layer on it, such that the kuhul will not be seen by any sight that strays towards your eye from the sights of men. But the second question around that is it a sin on a woman if her undergarment shows beneath her jilbab due to its length while moving around? Yes, it's a sin, because it is part of izharu zina. Don't wear a cloth underneath that is longer than your jilbab. Don't wear a cloth underneath that is longer than your jilbab. Your jilbab should be longer than the cloth you wear under it, because the intention of the jilbab is to cover everything up. So don't women do it on the days of Eid. They will wear a shorter jilbab. They want other women to see that they are wearing lace. It is part of tabarruj al-jahiliyyat al-ula. From the aspects of tabarruj is to be stylishly showing the dress that you are wearing under by wearing a shorter jilbab. Wear a long jilbab that covers everything. That beautiful clothes you are wearing, when you get home, expose it to your friends inside the house, your husband, your children, and those who have a right to see you in an adornment. Otherwise, it is from the aspects of at-tabarrujul jahiliyyah. May Allah protect us from that.
Another question says, please, how best can we maintain khushu in salat? Can you hear me, sir?
I will come back to the question on salah. I can hear you, Abu Abdurrahman. Can you hear me?
Naam, ya Shaykh.
Can we hear me?
Naam, ya Shaykh.
I'll come back to the question on salah. There's a question here. What can a woman do that when she's moody most times, she wants to stop being moody? And how can the husband assist in this regard? One of the things you need to do always is read Quran always. Reading the Quran always will be a means to remove your moodiness. Read the Quran always. Listen to beneficial lectures. Make sure you rest well. Make sure you rest well. Rest properly. Listen to the Quran, read the Quran, get more familiar and closer with the Quran. Make a lot of istighfar. Make a lot of istighfar. Be sure that your daily adhkars are complete and at the times that you are supposed to make them. The husband can help such a woman by helping her provide the means for her to listen to beneficial lessons. Also, don't overburden her as a husband. When the woman is moody, don't overburden her. If you have an opportunity, you can put her in a car and take a journey. Journey eases mental stress, journeying. Because in the journey, you see things that are different from what you have inside the house. So you can take her on a journey. If you live in Ibadan, you can drive to Lagos and come back. If you live in Lagos, you can drive to Ibadan and come back. You can go to Badagry and just get engaged, get activity into your routine. Sometimes to one of the things that brings a woman's being moody is she's not doing anything. And in our own time, one of the worst things that invite moodiness is pressing the phone, getting busy with Facebook, WhatsApp, Instagram, the social media. It brings people moodiness easily because they are just static, following reports up and down. So they could listen or see things that are burdensome to the mind, and then they inherit that sickness. One of the things that brings sickness of the mind easily for the people in our own times is the social media. So one way the husband can also help her is to maybe retrieve her telephone for some time so that she reduces her time spent on social media. May Allah protect all of us.
Jazakumullah khairan, ya Shaykh.
Ameen wa iyyak.
Another question reads, is colored hijab allowed?
We have discussed it in the lecture.
And this one says, what can a woman do with her husband who always wants his cousin brother to be with his wife, and this man is well matured? The woman
tell your husband what she's doing is not lawful. Invite your teachers into it. Let them sermonize and admonish your husband. Bring his own cousins to the house in the presence of his own wife is unlawful in the Sharia. More so when he will not be there. It's unlawful. Bring your relatives in if your husband does not listen. May Allah protect us.
Assalamu alaikum, ya Shaykh.
Ameen wa iyyakum. In a few set of classes, we'll soon be ending these discussions about Āishah radiyallahu anha. And we will tell us which other book we will study after that. We are considering studying a number of things, including studying the Seerah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, or studying Hirasatul Fadila. Inshallah, we'll pick a book and that we'll study after this class, bi'idhnillah. Can we call it a day, Abu Abdurrahman?
Naam ya Shaykh, barakallahu fikum.
Wa fikum barakallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.